Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how we built our ADU here in California, the full timeline, the step-by-step process, and most importantly, the real cost. When I made a previous video about ADUS, people clicked off the moment I said I wouldn't be covering the numbers. So this time, everything is included. Just keep in mind that costs may have changed since then. This is based entirely on my personal experience. Our ADU is a detached, 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bath unit. Our lot is about 14,000 square feet, which in Orange County is actually a pretty good size. Plenty of space to build. Let's start with the timeline. We first met our architect in May of 2021. We received our certificate of occupancy, which is the final approval from the city, in January of 2023. So the entire project took about 21 months. As first-time owners managing the project ourselves, there were definitely things we could have done faster. But overall, we're happy with the result. Now, the part everyone wants to know. The total cost for our ADU was about $285,000. That includes everything: architect fees, planning fees, developer fees, permits, labor, materials, all of it. And no, I didn't have $285,000 lying around. We financed almost the entire project. If you divide that by 1,200 square feet, it comes out to roughly $237.50 per square foot. For California, that's a very reasonable cost for a new build. We intended to use the ADU for family and friends at first, so we barely rented it during the first year. But now we're renting it for about $4,200 a month, with utilities included, which comes out to around $50,000 a year in revenue. As an investment, it makes a lot of sense. Now let's go deeper into the process. I found our architect through a friend who had already built an ADU in our city. The plans cost $7,000. We probably could have found someone cheaper, but this architect knew the city well, handled all submissions, and had completed many projects locally. That experience was worth the price. We began drafting in May, sent our revisions in early June after reviewing the plans with a few people, including an interior designer. Then we moved on to elevations, the exterior look and structure. We received the elevation drafts in early July, sent back revisions at the end of July, and by the first week of August, everything was submitted to the city for plan check. Plan check was approved August 31st. Our city had a 6-week response requirement, so we got notes back in early October. Mostly small changes, lowering window heights and a few minor adjustments, all handled by the architect. Before the city could fully approve our plans, we had additional fees: school district developer fees, public works fees, and sewer fees. Because it was the holidays, we took longer than necessary, but by mid-December we had paid everything. Only then could we pull permits, meaning we were officially allowed to start construction. During this time, we interviewed contractors. We received 3 or 4 bids and chose a referral we trusted. We broke ground in early March. March was all about site prep, marking the area, bringing in heavy machinery, trenching for sewer and water lines, and prepping the foundation. We also had a week of rain, which delayed things slightly. By the end of March, the footings and underground plumbing were done. In April, the team continued underground electrical and water lines. Once everything passed inspection, the concrete foundation was poured at the end of April. May was framing, and it's one of the most exciting parts. In about 2.5 weeks, the entire structure went up, both stories and the roof. Once framing was complete, they could start MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, inside the home. June and July were dedicated to MEP. They installed wiring, PEX plumbing, windows, and roof shingles. We did get a few corrections, nothing major. One window was installed too low and had to be reframed, which is pretty normal in construction. By the first week of August, we passed the MEP inspection. That was a huge milestone because it meant the house could be wrapped and insulated. After that, drywall could go up. By the end of August, the interior was starting to look like a real home. From September through December, it was all finished work. Cabinets, flooring, stair rails, tile, backsplashes, fixtures, and lots of small details. We also did some yard work in concrete for the patio, which added time. If we were rushing for ROI, we could have finished 2 or 3 months faster. Because this is California, we also had to install solar. That required its own permit and inspection, and the whole process took about 2 weeks. Construction officially started in March 2022 and wrapped in January 2023. The permitting and planning phase took much longer than necessary, mostly because we weren't pushing things during the holidays. But overall, the timeline was very reasonable. Now let's talk about costs in more detail. Architect, $7,000. City planning, about $2,168. Public works and school fees, roughly $8,056. Building permits, about $6,785. So before we even started construction, we had already spent around $24,000. Our contractor charged $211,850 for labor and basic materials. We had a clear draw schedule, a 10% deposit, a 20% materials deposit, then payments tied to milestones, foundation, framing, M&P, drywall, stucco, tile and flooring, and final completion. Most importantly, he only got paid after each inspection was passed. The rest of the total cost came from all the finishes we purchased ourselves: cabinets, flooring, tile, countertops, plumbing fixtures, lighting, solar, and everything else inside the unit. These are the things that can vary widely depending on your taste and budget. So overall, our ADU cost about $285,000 from start to finish. And here are my biggest takeaways. Don't get upset about things you can't control. Weather, delays, city inspections. Budget extra because you will run into little surprises. Expect the process to take longer than you think. Treat your workers with respect. They notice, and it helps the project run smoothly. And make sure your contractor is licensed, bonded, insured, and gives you a clear contract and timeline before any work starts. I hope this breakdown helps you with your ADU project, or at least gives you a realistic idea of what to expect. If you have questions or need help, feel free to email me. I'm happy to share anything I've learned. If you're ready to explore what an ADU could cost on your property, we've created a free ADU budgeting guide to help you calculate your own scenario. Download the guide via the link in the description below. And if you'd like to talk through your property, your budget, and your goals, reach out to our ADU Scale team and we'll help you map it out. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, give us a like, subscribe for more ADU, real estate, and investment content, and hit the bell so you don't miss our future videos. See you next time.